Hello, it's Dale here. Today I'm going to show you silk paper from cocoon strippings. I know I've done it before, but people keep asking me. And cocoon strippings are the stuff that comes from the cocoon, the cocoon, the silk cocoon. And so it's basically the rubbish, but it's got the natural sericin, which means you don't have to use the textile medium to make your silk paper. You can see what it's like when it opens out. And you could, if you're doing something specifically interesting that requires a sort of grid structure, you can open it all out like that. But I'm going to take the fibres and make a piece of a little book. And I'm using baking paper, we call it Glad Bake in Australia or other things, but it's baking paper and water and an iron. So that's all it needs. And this is the little book that I've made. And you can see it's a little concertina book. And to do that, of course, you build up a lot of, just keep adding to make it longer. And it's very fine in places. I could make it dense, I'll show you that. And then I've stitched on it. So once you've made this paper, it's just like a fabric, like a silk fabric. And I have then put some of my little pictures on as hexagons and stitched them on. You can see how they are transparent, and you can see through to the stitching below. So I'll come back to that. But to make the paper, it's just easy peasy, and you just take the fibres. If you've got a carder, that's probably much easier than what I'm doing, but that's okay. And so you just lay the fibres out like so. Not too thick. The idea of this is that you make a fine layer, and if you want it to be thicker, you simply add over the top, because if it's too thick, it'll be spongy inside. Now, if I was going to make a whole book, I would start maybe feeding right through and then adding to it like at some point. When I get these things, they often have little bits of stuff in them, but we won't worry too much about that right now. So I'm just putting them down. And see how we go. And I'm working white. I colour it, but only usually afterwards, and I only use water-based things to colour it with. And so there it is, put it on here to get started. And all I'll do is spray it with water. Put a nice big wet down. And take the second sheet of Glad Bake baking paper and hot iron. With my iron, it's always just off or hot. So this is a pretty old iron, and you are simply bonding it together. So we'll just turn it over and give it a good iron on this side. And then usually you let it cure because it's going to be a bit soft. But here it comes here. And I have made a piece of silk paper. It's sometimes called silk fusion because that's what you're doing. You're fusing the fibres together. So there we go. And it will dry, as it dries, it will become reasonably firm. Now then I would start building up into these other spaces. Perhaps I would have taken that out first, but I've got that there like that. And to do that, you just get your fibres and simply pop them in those spaces and keep building up your layers until you've got quite a nice... And you can put other things in, of course, but I just wanted to make a very plain piece. If you make it too thick, it will be all spongy in the middle. It's sticking to itself. See, you can feel this glue everywhere. So I'll say that's what I've done. I can always add to it afterwards. And I would just keep building along. If you want to spread your Glad your baking paper out for a long distance and work on a bigger surface, that's fine. But for a demo, just here we are here. And you just keep adding to it. I think my iron's got a bit of olive water in it or something. And so I'm just building up a little bit more here. And lift it up like so. And there, I haven't ironed it properly so you can see. There it is building up into further, to a thicker layer. Now with this here, if you've got things and you put them back onto the surface, take this one here for instance, then I have made a piece of silk paper. There's the backing. I've put other things onto it. Once you put something onto it like scrim or laces, you can just apply water again and they will adhere to it. So because it's got and it will reactivate. So that's just a little starter for you if you haven't done this before. That's me, and you'll find all about me on our website. And if you're interested in silk paper, I would always recommend Sarah Lawrence's fabulous book. It is the only book that's definitive, and it's only $20. It's got everything you want to know about silk. It's even got some samples of my work in there. So I hope that's been of use to you. So you can now put together your own concertina book, and I'll see you again another time. Bye.